allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I ask the Secretary Treasurer to call the roll.
Scott Howitz, President.
Here.
William Pell, Secretary Treasurer. I'm here. Edward J. Warner, Jr.
President.
Ann Walker.
President.
Present.
And William Parrish.
President.
We're all here.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Monday, February 13th, 2023, 9:30 a.m. meeting here at Town Hall. Here on a nice second floor of the Town Hall. We have a couple of discussions on, and then we're going to get right into it because we have a very, very busy day and busy agenda, a lot going on. There's a discussion about Article 7, Section 47, regarding permit modifications and renewals. This was about the stamp plans. We've been having this conversation back and forth, and it's an evolution with this regulation. Mark, you want to opine on where we ended up with this?
Sure. I think after our last public session, we had, the trustees had come to the conclusion, after I provided some advice and we listened to a gentleman who came in and spoke with us, that the section as written did not need to be amended.
Right, I think we got to take it a little further, though, on this, though, because I think there was some questions concerning at what point in time a modification would be requiring, an already approved permit that was requesting to be modified, at what point in time, if those plans were accepted prior,
Yeah.
without the stamp,
Right.
at what point would the trustee board make the determination that now, it's too big of a change in the plan, and it's got to go back for a stamp versus it's not gonna.
Right. What we determined, and I have a handout on a related issue as well, it's 5 of these for the trustees, regarding some proposed language with regard to specifically modifications versus renewals.
Okay,
But as to the
Get a
stamps,
copy for Joe?
the determination was made that if a survey,
we'll make a copy, I guess.
Mark, you have one more copy?
I have my copy here, there should be 5.
I want to have Joe take a look, too.
Oh, okay. I don't have another copy.
Okay.
All right,
get
we'll
another
we'll
one.
get them.
I'll get
This is
them.
a
I'll
work
get them
session,
one.
we're not,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to take some time to review this anyway. I mean, this has been through several sessions of conversation here at the board, and it was good that Floyd Carrington came and gave a bunch of really good information for the board's consideration. I thank Floyd for taking his time to come in on his own to express the importance of respecting surveys and what you can and cannot do legally on a legal document,
Yes.
right? So,
And we determined that if a survey was altered in any way and changed, then it would require another stamp before the trustee.
to
Right.
remain being a
And-
valid document.
Right, and they would mark it that there had been a change and then stamp it themselves.
Right.
Can you see if Joe takes a
Short of
copy it,
that,
too, please?
if the initial plans were not changed and submitted with a stamp, a new stamp was not necessary. And there was a code amendment to reflect that.
Okay.
Do you want to discuss?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a separate issue, but a newer issue with regard to permit modifications and renewals and whether or not we need a code amendment. 47, Section A3 mentions the word alter, which would cover any repair to a dock. So there may not need to be an amendment. However, if you go to the next page, 47F, specifically 47F1, the section marked in conjunction with the application, it says, in conjunction with the application for work, the trustees require the following for all new work, reconstruction, and replacement of existing structures. And we could clarify that further, although I don't think it's necessary with the language that I'm proposing on page 3. which would read, "In conjunction with the application for work," and then add the language, "including applications for modifications but excluding applications for renewals, the trustees require the following for all new work, reconstruction, and replacement." So only the middle part would be the addition. Again, I don't know if it's necessary because the Article 647A3 already includes the word alter,
So any
which would
change
be
in the
a
original.
modification, not
Yes.
renewal. So you may
In
not,
one way or another, it would be a change in the original structure. So
Right.
with that being done, we'd need all the proper paperwork, stamp and everything, so that when George or whoever is our inspector goes to inspect the project, he has the piece of paper, he has a survey, and he has all the, site plans that, and then.
exactly, for a modification, not for a renewal, though.
Right.
If it just needed
No.
more time to do the work
Yes.
they already got a permit
Yeah.
for, they would not. So it's really up to the trustees whether you want to keep the section as is. I think it's probably covered with the word alter, or add that additional language regarding modifications and excluding renewals.
I mean, you're just restating it in the.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's
I don't think it's
repetitive, right?
necessary. Could always revisit it down the road if you
Yeah.
choose to.
Well, we just wanna make sure whatever plans are submitted and the project is done, that the inspector has it and it's the same, it matches
Yes.
up.
Yes.
Yep, so it's enforceable if it's not done to, our code or the plans, it's enforceable in court.
Right, and I believe this section gives the trustees the clear discretion to not require new stamps for renewals, but to require them on modifications,
Okay.
which is the issue.
That's great.
Gotta get my phone to not be ringing.
Thank you for telling me that.
Dropped it one too many times. All right, so we'll review this and we'll make a determination, Mark. But,
Okay.
I mean, I feel confident that you say that it's already covered in the alter section of it, you know. All right, trustee Warner.
Yes. We have brought, it's boat lifts and potential regulations. This has been discussed, I would say, for the last 8 or 10 years, boat lifts within the town. We have permitted them or given permits for them in specific areas, and there are other areas where they have been placed in with the help of our permit and review. And looking at some of the prohibited areas, it's in these areas. So what I'd like to do is the board to take a look at them, come up with any thoughts, being that we have new types of boat lifts. They don't lift the boats up. They're not as obtrusive on the water. They don't have these giant pilings, and they don't lift the boats up as high as they used to. It's almost like having them at a dock when the tide rises and falls. They're not 5 or 6 or 7 feet out of the water. So I'd like everybody to give a little bit of thought and input on this, and I'd like to have a discussion and maybe move to legalizing boat lifts, because there are some good, things that come of this. A lot of times the boats that are used or on these boat lifts, they don't have anti-fouling paint, which eventually ends up in the water and causes, degradation of the marine environment, shellfish and eelgrass. And it's a way of protecting your vessel during a storm. It lifts it up out of harm's way. And it's a lot of the areas, several of the areas already have these boat lifts of one type or another, but I'd like to really, hone in on a boat lift that wouldn't lift the boat up as high, and also legalize them, and basically throughout the whole entire town, come up with a set of parameters that would work to do that.
What are you thinking as far as water?
The water depth, at a floating dock, you have 30 inches of water, so in place of maybe a floating dock, somebody might ask for a boat lift, so I would say 30 inches of water would be a starting point for discussion. James, I don't know if you want to have any,
It's on the back of the
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
Okay.
there were
So keep
some,
it the same.
yeah,
so 2.5 feet.
Yeah.
A minimum.
Yes.
And then it's gonna be 2.5 feet above the high water is the maximum height of the boat.
correct. So, it's not as
it looks aesthetically better, it protects the vessel, and, you know, it's, you know, in some places, instances, we can, you know, get rid of a floating dock, which would cause, or have less shading on the bottom, so, you know, and I think it's something, I think it's something that's, you know, already happening in many areas for many 20 or plus years, and some of the older boat lifts are very, you know, they have, you know, 12-inch pilings, and the boats are actually 4 or 5 feet above mean high water, which, you know, basically, you know, you're looking at, your neighbor's looking at your boat. So I want to come up with more of a consistent management protocol, and something that would work, you know, in the whole town, not just individual areas.
Had the pushback about boat lifts been primarily because of the aesthetics for the neighbors, in addition to concerns about the environment?
I think originally the town, the trustees were just not in favor of boat lifts, but they have been haphazardly approved throughout the town. I'll give you, for instance, there's what was it, in Red Creek Pond, we permitted a boat lift in there, and it's a solar stream boat lift, and it's a pontoon boat lift, and it's almost like a jet ski dock. It's very low profile. The boat goes up there, it lifts up, it's run by solar, and it has vegetable oil for hydraulics. So we approved it because thinking that the gentleman doesn't paint his boat, so that anti-fouling paint isn't going to get into the environment. Using vegetable oil as hydraulic oil and a solar power would be something, and it's, you really can't tell that there's a boat lift there because it's so low profile. So we need to do some research, and we have been given quite a few documents as far as boat lifts to look at over my tenure on the trustees. So I just want to move, if the board has a sentiment of moving forward, I want to move it forward and come up with a, you know, a plan so that we can
I
apply
mean,
this.
this would, you know, obviously require a public hearing.
No, we've already had a public hearing, and we denied a couple of boat lifts in Smith's Creek. And some of these areas, I think, would be appropriate for a boat lift, and actually have boat lifts around the parameter of Smith's Creek. So that's why I want everybody on the board to be able to, you know, look at this, you know.
So you're saying we need another public hearing?
Well, I
We
want
would
to come
need a
up
public
with
hearing
an
to
actual
change the law.
set of parameters and plans that we would all support as far as boat lifts, and then propose it in a public hearing format so that people in the public can give us their input, and then we can, if it's successful, craft a document to put in our blue book that we would allow boat lifts throughout the town.
Okay, so it needs a little more discussion and
Yes,
research.
All right.
it does.
Okay, it's good, thanks, Ed.
Okay.
I'd say that the trustees can review what's proposed, and if you have any additions, then we can talk about it next
Sure.
work session, and then schedule a public hearing after that, if there's no changes.
Right.
Yes.
Are boat lifts ever on moorings?
That I'm aware of.
Okay.
Only a jet ski float would be on a mooring, which would be almost a boat lift, because you run the jet ski up and it lifts it out of the water. These boat lifts would actually have hydraulics or electric, you know, to lift the boats up. And, you know, there are boats as large as, I believe, 40 feet that have, are on boat lifts, which are legalized, so that's why I want to, you know, go through the whole process.
Okay,
All right, so,
great.
Okay.
Thank you, Ed.
We'll do a review.
yep, thank you.
Okay, so we can get right into general permit applications, if you guys are ready for that.
Yep.
I have 11 Ramona Drive, Hampton Bays. I see Billy Mack is here from First Coastal. Hello.
Billy.
Monday,
Hold on.
Hey,
Good
Billy.
morning, Bill.
everybody.
We did a field trip.
Oh, good. That was my first
We did a
question.
field trip.
Yeah, this is a site that's been inundated for the last several decades, and we're looking to propose a simple rock protective structure right at the high water line.
One rock?
Rock structure.
It's a simple rock.
Yeah, you definitely,
Multiple rocks. Yeah.
You definitely
But
have to do something there.
consistent with what's been approved
Right.
before.
He's got the area staked out, James and I went there,
Okay.
and we did a review, we looked at all the flags and whatnot.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot about the site, and we also found, more questions to ask, but James and I will deal with that later, right? As we go down there and we take a look at it. But I mean, you have to do something there because it is getting beat up pretty
Yeah.
bad. And I see you're gonna remove that
Timber.
timber there, that
Yeah.
timber stuff that's there. You're gonna get rid of that, and you're gonna do, a much better project than what is there.
Yeah.
Get rid of that pipe.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that over the decades,
gonna
the
use-
owner has been doing.
This is
some
gonna go.
Self-help,
Yeah.
which,
You could use native
Didn't
stones.
we give a
native
permit?
stone.
Not
Yeah,
sharp edge.
exactly.
Round like this.
Billy, wasn't there a permit from our board pretty recently to do a project or part of a project here?
Not on this property.
I see there's rocks there already.
Yeah,
Well, sometimes these people are engaging in
they did a little self-help. I think
self-help,
is-
as they call it, but now it's good that you're coming in, because now you got a good plan, I think, going on here, from what I can see. I mean, James, our environmental analyst, we were there, I mean, we both kind of thought that it made sense with what you had going on there. You are getting beat up pretty good.
What's the difference in elevation between the beach and above the rocks?
It's about 2 feet.
Right, you can
Hard
see
to
those,
tell.
It's pretty shallow, yeah.
yeah, you see those
flat there.
timbers,
Okay,
and those timbers are coming out.
Yes,
okay.
as is the rock that's there, and
Yes.
I think there's some polypropylene bags, sandbags.
That's right, they got
they're all
sandbags there
coming out.
too, yep,
Yep.
yeah, they are.
Yeah. And that little curb, the timber curb.
Yeah, that's all gonna go, as
Yep.
indicated.
Yep.
Is this revetment gonna be covered with sand?
We're gonna cover it with sand, yeah.
And are you gonna
plant it with
plant it?
beach grass, yes.
Isn't the northerly part of the project already have a vegetated shoreline? It has phragmites and some,
It's got phragmites, yeah.
and some, marsh or meadow, basically bog there, so
Yeah.
you could reconstruct that behind the
We could,
rocks in a way that, probably what I'm thinking is that this type of a project is gonna be almost like the living shoreline, but you're utilizing some kind of structure to break the wave energy and allow the structure to behind it to flourish.
we're hoping that on top of the structure and landward of the structure, the native vegetation that we plant, which is the Cape American beach grass, will do quite well because it'll have that protection. Also, there is some, it's not very evident,
James, can you scroll up a little?
but there is hints of Spartina grass that are trying to
It-
grow there.
It
And that's
has
what
been
we're
for-
hoping
yeah.
will start populating
Yeah,
as
that's what
well.
I'm looking at,
That's-
because you got the
Yeah.
wave fetch all the way from the Concord Bridge on an easterly wind,
It's pretty substantial.
which we've had several very strong storms this winter.
And it's only February.
Yeah,
I don't know if you noticed when you were there, but the flooding goes all the way back, under the pool that's there,
Now, we-
under the deck.
No, we acknowledge, James and I were there, we spent a bunch of time there. You have to do something, and I think that you're taking a,
so this project's gonna be done in a way that the public will at either a lower tide would still acquire pass and repass,
Oh, yeah,
right?
no doubt.
This isn't
Sure.
gonna interfere with the
Not
public's
at all.
use of the beach there.
no way, yeah, not in
Yeah,
that area.
yeah.
no way at
Low
all.
tide, the beach is nice and wide. It's a very shallow area, as you know,
Yes.
so.
Yes.
And to the north and to the south, there are bulkheads on both sides, right?
Correct.
So are you, it's hard to tell from the drawings, are you proposing the revetment to be seaward of the bulkheads or to
It's,
be in line?
well, it's
with-
right on the high water line, essentially. The bulkheads are farther seaward.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, when you go there and you look at his flags, you could see, I mean, you guys have done a really good job, in my opinion, at trying to address this in the best possible manner.
Yeah, we pulled it back.
They did pull
you
it
know,
quite back.
To what's there protecting and also what's on the adjacent properties.
I hope it works.
Yeah.
Because you are getting beat up pretty good over there.
Yeah, it's one of the few properties that has zero protection, and
Right.
and it's showing,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
Just trying to think if there are any other greener parts of it that could be
Well,
substituted or added.
replacing the Phragmite with native will
Yeah.
go a long way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think you did a good job.
okay.
What
Looks good.
about maintaining the coverage of the sand on the rocks going forward?
On the seaward edge, the most seaward edge will probably get exposed pretty, on a significant storm. But what we found landward, which is where we're gonna be planting a lot of the native vegetation, will do quite well. And that vegetation will hold that sand.
Well, do we want a special condition in there that the rocks will be kept covered?
I mean,
On
it's
an
gonna be a
individual
constant,
by-
it's gonna be like a constant battle, I think, no matter
On the
what.
seaward side, I think that's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be a
impossible.
nonstop. It'll be nonstop. I mean,
It's too
Well-
volatile of an area.
Once a year?
I would think everything from the rock revetment landward, where you've got the rocks to protect the shore and the structure or whatever you plant behind there that would be the area that we probably look the closest at for, either sand maintenance or
Vegetation.
revegetation.
Yeah.
Because you might need a couple planting cycles in order for the grass to take root and to establish itself.
Mhm.
But I think once you have the rocks or our structure there that would break up the wave energy, I think it would work pretty good. Because I'm familiar with the area, and there's, right behind it is, a stand of phragmites and other
Thick.
grasses.
yeah, I think getting the beach grass to establish itself and thrive versus
Yeah,
being,
Spartina.
Yeah.
as part-time. But he's specifically calling for beach grass,
Yeah,
American
that's
beach
the
grass.
upland part that'll
It
do
is
better, yeah.
In trying stopping that surge and trying to stabilize what it is that you have there. It's a difficult spot that you're in. You're trying to utilize, what you have in your tool belt, aside from putting a bulkhead in like other people have to protect their property. So I'm hoping that this can work out for you, because you definitely have an issue that has to be addressed.
Is there an access point between the house over the structure and is there gonna be a walkway there or some
It's
kind
not
of?
in the permit, is it?
No,
Because if you're gonna put rocks there, you're basically gonna put a wall, and I don't think you wanna be walking across
Yeah,
that wall.
what we are planning to do is, once this is done, the property owner would like to go and file a permit for a dock of some sort or a walkway, just to.
Okay.
You want to see what it looks
I
first.
think it's better
Yeah.
to you gotta
The
get your problem
priority is-
stabilized
Yeah,
first, in my
exactly.
opinion.
Exactly,
I
You-
would do the same.
You gotta get it stabilized, because you have a problem there.
yep, yeah. But to your point, yes, that's absolutely what they're considering.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very familiar with the area, and it's between 2 points that are,
Okay?
have bulkheads, so.
Ready for the next one?
Good, you good?
Thank you.
You good? Is everybody good?
I'm good.
Mr. Parrish, you good, everybody?
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Billy
Thanks,
man.
Billy.
Next one is a modification renewal for 11 Shinnecock Road. This is for the Shinnecock Shores Association.
Billy could have stayed for this. So you need him up?
Billy?
First coast.
Me too.
I don't think it is you.
Billy, for that last one, we just need the stamp plans.
Yeah, it is you.
Stamp plans, yes.
Kelly, it's got Kelly Hoffman here.
Okay. And you?
This is it's a maintenance dredge project for the Dolphin, Marlin, Tarpon, Barracuda, Whiting Canals. They have a maintenance dredge. Due to the scope and nature of the dredging project, the applicant proposes to pay the dimensional fees for the trustee permit per individual canal. You're looking to modify this
It's changing it from hydraulic.
to a clamshell.
Yeah.
Right, that's all you're doing, is you're just going to clamshell. So I'm not opposed to that. There's no issue with that.
It's a
just-
simpler way
It's
to.
a simple modification.
And
So-
what's the reason for that?
I believe that was a request from the DEC to go to clamshell on that. And
Right.
it works out with the type of equipment that will be there.
Right, a lot of these
It's consistent.
canals, that's what they do, to do these little maintenance dredge, it's just a lot easier to just handle it.
Reach in with
And
something
grab
with
it.
a longer reach. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so
Much
you're
difference.
just tightening up the methodology in terms you're going to be doing this dredging, it's absolutely needed, so I think it should move forward.
And where does the spoil go?
I think it's dedicated site upland behind the bulkhead.
Right, and a lot of
Yeah.
times they take it to a DEC-approved site, they'll put it in containers and it's
Yeah.
out of there, because there's not a lot you don't have tremendous amount, they have to get rid of it someplace else.
It's sandy, very
Right.
clean material.
Right.
Have you been looking or been paying attention to the beneficial use of dredge spoils at all in any other areas?
Sure, we,
Right? I wish we would start to.
yeah,
do
we
that.
really like to combine it with some type of restoration, either upland, even if it's simply upland or on a eroded shoreline.
Yeah.
Not many of the projects that we're dredging from have, you know, eroded shoreline that we
Right.
can marry up with a project, but
Right. Has
whenever
that
we
been,
can.
has that been done, or is that being done at all that you see with DEC? Or
Uh,
anywhere in the state? Because I know it's being done in other locations, but I think that we're behind the curve
Well,
a little.
Well, it's not just us.
Not in this
No,
case,
because a
but
lot-
just looking forward.
Well, I mean, in some instances, the contractors will take it back to a site that they have, and they will they'll let it dry out. And then they'll
Yeah,
get a permit for repurposing that material. You know, the applicants come in, they can only keep so much on site. They negotiate with the contractor that's doing the job. They're taking it to a specific site. Obviously, if there's a lot of, volatile compounds in it, then it's
that
very
goes
expensive
somewhere
and going
else.
someplace
Yeah.
else, and you're talking about a different conversation.
but if it's beach compatible, which it typically is.
Right, then it's drying out, it's going to some place, and then they'll work that out, but that's what those contractors do,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it does happen, more times than you even know.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
just-
it's always hard to try to get that
Marry.
dredge material when you need it, because it never overlaps. But like you said, a lot of the excavating contractors will store this for specific use.
Right.
Can't really use it for like making concrete or anything like that because of salt content. But for shoreline stabilization projects, we've been able to
Right.
utilize
Other
some of that
things.
sand.
We're not involved at that part of the equation, we're permitting it, and then they're negotiating their deals with their contractors, and then they're following the DEC's, our protocols, and then they're doing their thing. We're not,
In
if
other-
it's our project, like something that we're doing,
Then you can do it. Yeah.
right.
In other areas, though, it's being used for marsh restoration, and that's a really interesting concept, especially if the property or the site
Mhm.
was
Warranting
a
that,
possibility,
Right.
yeah.
Well,
Sure, sure.
when the DEC gets involved, they have a philosophy of keeping it in the system, which
Yeah.
is usually along that shoreline or in that proximity.
Right.
Once that material is put in the truck and trucked it away, there's another whole layer of DEC. It becomes hazardous material, it needs to be looked at for VOCs, and then it
Right, I get
adds
it.
a lot of cost to that material.
Yeah. yeah.
So, I mean, we did a project with the county at Foster's
Foster's
Creek. We dredged 9,000 cubic yards of material, let it dry out on the property owner, and then it was used on a property north in Foster's
Mhm.
Creek for shoreline restoration, because there was a low silt bulkhead placed there, and it was
Perfect.
planted, and that
Doing well.
project has flourished.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Good- That's a good
there are
combination.
which we all try to do the research. Like, I'll give you an example, when we were doing a dredging project, or a potential dredging project in Shinnecock Bay, talking to you and Aram about North Sea Beach Colony and moving the material down there.
Yeah.
Because it is in the
Great.
marine system, and I think it would be beach compatible, so which the material has to be with that site, so, but we've always tried to do these projects with a future beach restoration in sight.
Right,
Yeah.
but for this application, for what you got going
No.
on here, the modification is fully
Pretty simple.
acceptable, very, okay, and
Yep.
I think we're good to go with that, Billy.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Billy.
Thank you.
Next one I have is Marina Brandt.
Real
Eight-
quick, sorry to interrupt you, Scott. The application was taken in incorrect on this one. It's actually Bayview Drive, Village of Quogue, not Bayview Drive, West Hampton. So that's to be changed in our system, but so the name is incorrect. We still have the proper documents and everything, but just wanted to make you aware of that.
Yeah, I think, that is anybody here representing this application?
Grab this.
Nobody's here representing this application?
Do you want to discuss it a little, or do you just want
Well,
to?
We'll just
Have
do
you
it
been in
another day.
touch with the owner?
well, it doesn't, I don't see where there's in the Blue Book regulations, first of all, it just says to add an additional section of floating dock X and one piling to existing approved dock. But if you look at the regulations that we all follow, it looks to be all out of spec, so I think that
They-
this can't go anywhere right now. I think we need to have a conversation with the applicant, so.
Because they already have a catwalk and a floating dock.
Right,
Right.
right,
Want
so.
to add an additional.
Right, so our regulations are clear. I think we're gonna move on to the next one, and we'll have a conversation with the applicant. I was hoping they would be here, but we will reach out and we'll deal with that. All right, so trustee Pell,
I have 64 down East Lane, Jim Walker into Science. Step forward, please.
hello there, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Morning, Jim.
This file's getting pretty thicker by the day.
What's that?
This file on this permit gets thicker by the day.
Well, the village has slowed down everything. But for the board information, Martha Reichert is here representing her client, who lives next door, whose dock I also got approved 5 or 6 years ago. It was originally Fred Havemeyer's property. 64 Down East Lane, we're back to see the Board of Trustees because DEC asked us to change the drop platform to 4 foot by 6 foot exactly, so we changed the plans, we submitted them, and you had issued a permit.
So we just have to amend it.
You would be asked to amend a permit.
Is
Okay.
Is it the size of the drop platform that we're amending?
It's a little bit smaller.
Small.
They wanted us, we tried to provide a drop platform that you could put a kayak in the water more practically. But the DEC asked us to revise it, make it narrower and more precisely 4 foot by 6 feet, so we did.
Okay.
And we are still in front of the village. The village has had a hard time approving this project, so we are proceeding again tomorrow. While everybody is at dinner for Valentine's Day, I will be at the zoning board of
So
appeals
do you want to?
Sorry.
pushing a wetlands permit.
Do you want to submit the new thing?
I submitted it,
Okay.
Bill. It's into you.
I saw that.
You have it. It's not very exciting. We made the 4 foot by 6 foot platform precisely 4 foot by 6 feet so that it meets the
Okay.
current
So
DEC.
we go forward with that.
I have an Army Corps permit, I have a Department of State
Okay.
permit. I'm finished with the DEC, so
Just us in the
we're
village.
bringing you up to speed.
Okay. I have no problem with it.
And the access here for both properties for their kayaks or paddle boards is fine in this narrow.
Yeah, it's been a high tide.
There's no water in
There's
this.
no
It
water,
goes
only
dry
at
at low
tide.
tide.
It goes dry at low tide. Martha's been in the creek. I never.
Are you participating in this whole thing, Martha? You need to. Is she participating in this?
She can come up.
If you're gonna
Say
be,
hello.
if you're here and you have something connected with this, I think it's better that you're on the record, so the
She's
board.
the only person I know that went in that creek.
Well,
I looked at it.
if you're here and you're referencing her, I think she should be part of the record here.
She's
I think-
here.
I think her-
And you
I
made
think
it
her
out,
husband-
it's endless mud bottom.
It was terrifying. Luckily, I brought my husband, and he handed me a kayak paddle so that I could, because I started sinking in.
And I already heard this whole story before.
You did, so you're for this, this is.
My client's concerns are just about the navigability. One of the things that over the process is Jim flipped the drop platform to go a little bit further towards the east, which we both felt alleviated any issues, and now the platform's just being made smaller, so I don't have any specific objections to
That's okay.
this.
So let's push it
We're gonna
forward.
launch a kayak here, and the board should be aware that the guy has a mooring permit in Hetty Creek. He is the guy that kept a little Boston whaler at his property, which is the old DuPont estate. And I don't remember the street address on Meadow Lane, but he's the guy that had the little
Yeah.
Boston whaler at Munns Point.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So you're checking all the boxes here.
It's been there forever.
Yeah, okay.
In the little pond in Munns Point.
He knows where it was.
Yeah.
I fish here, so I'm familiar with this area.
Well, his mooring's now in Hetty Creek, because you
Okay.
gave him a
We
permit
moved
transfer.
You're fishing everywhere.
Well, if I could just add one last thing, my client's concern was that a boat might be permanently berthed there, but I think the village is working on that.
There's no
with-
way you can get a boat up there. You find that out.
Yeah, it's very shallow.
Again, she's the only person I know that went in the creek.
Is any crabs in
Well,
there?
then she's
And it's here to talk
qualified to
about
comment on it. The only one qualified.
No, Billy, that's where the white bait hangs out this time
Yeah.
of year.
So, we're all good with it?
If you're all good with it, I'm all good with
Yeah,
it.
I
Meets
think
all,
it's-
checks all the boxes of what we need, and you have to resolve your issue with the village. whatever that is, but for our boxes, it seems as though you're okay.
And the
We're
next
fine
one,
with it.
we have 56.
We need,
Thank-
for that one, we need stamp plans, so.
Thank you, Martha, nice to see you.
Thank
It's nice to see you as well.
Thank you for taking a walk on the
Martha.
creek.
Yeah.
Martha was on the other side of the table for a while.
Jim,
Stay out of that mud.
we just need stamp plans for that one.
For,
Always bring a friend
64.
Yeah, right? And a paddle.
and a paddle.
the next one is a renewal. And you have stamp plans. And it's a simple renewal, so,
Which one are we talking about now?
56.
So it's just a renewal with no changes?
yes,
No changes.
And we already have what we need,
you have what you need.
so
So that's
Hold
easy.
hold on.
What's it for?
Bulkhead,
Okay.
the guy's name is Trader Skip. And we got permits for the guy, then we got renewals for the guy, and we went through the permit process over and over again. I said, listen, I'm not gonna do it again.
Yeah.
I'll get a renewal, you build the bulkhead, or you can go talk to somebody
It-
else.
Yeah, it's been
It
six years.
expired, so you guys did give a permit, it just expired, so it's technically a new application now.
it's a new application.
And is,
New application, but he's gonna build the bulkhead this time.
But the specs are exactly as
Exactly the same.
prior approved.
Yes,
And this time you have stamp plans.
engineered plans.
and
okay.
is 56 is the right address? It's just showing marsh.
56 is the right address. No, there's a bulkhead there in the dock, and we're replacing the bulkhead in the dock.
So it's vacant.
It's vacant.
Right, okay.
There's
But
a
I
lot
did
of
have a question on that.
properties in Colesbridge that are vacant.
When he puts the float out, the width of that canal, it's pretty narrow out there. He
Yeah,
put a boat there.
Does it meet the tests?
we're at 2.7 to 4.7 feet. of
And what do you
water.
got distance to the other shoreline?
Distance to the other shoreline,
I
and
have
10 feet
no
off the
idea.
boundary line.
I didn't do this project initially, Brant did for
It
me.
doesn't show the
Distance.
distance across, so.
You have
I
that
c-
scale?
I can let you know.
Yeah, why don't we do
You just have
that?
to meet the third,
1/3.
yeah.
So,
Please.
Bill, we'll send it to you.
And also, he's been bringing his float up through the neighbor's grass and killing the grass. You can see the path.
You should put a condition on your permit.
Yeah, he can't be, it has to be a stored up land, but he can't drag it over
It
the
may already
neighbor's
be there,
grass.
Um, So,
You know where this is, that's up in there, there's plants up in there.
Yes.
There's clams up in there, he knows where it is.
Yes.
Well, we don't want to talk about it.
we'll send you the width of the canal.
Okay.
If you want a condition, the float,
Stored seasonally?
Stored seasonally, but it can't be dragged up on the neighbor's property.
you should put that in all your permits.
Stored season in upland location, not in the grass.
Yeah,
It's
we
already
usually
there.
do.
It's already there.
Yeah,
It's already there.
yeah, just people have to abide by it.
But he can't be dragging it up over and killing the grass.
I got you.
You can see the trenches.
Everybody wants to abide by their agreements.
The next one's Sabrina.
We're gonna hold that.
Yeah, hold that until he gets out the information out for me.
Is this you too, Jim?
No, Sabrina.
Sabrina.
She's
Spring.
289.
right here.
Oh, good.
She's the boss.
289 Noyak LLC.
Yeah.
She's the boss at InterScience.
Hello.
If you didn't know.
Morning, everyone.
You're the
How
boss.
are you?
She's the new boss.
Before I begin, I had sent digitally revised plans on Thursday before I saw that I was on the agenda. I don't know if they made it your way. The plans have essentially been revised to take off the kayak rack. I have
Okay.
extra copies if everybody wants them, or if you want to talk about
Well,
it the next
Did you
meeting.
get them,
it's fine.
James?
Survey says.
They might have gone to Nick.
I sent them
Yeah,
to
let's-
Nick and
let's-
Jamie was CC'd,
yeah, let's
but
have
I have, yeah,
James was CC'd.
yes.
If we have copies, we can look at them.
It's
right
not-
You want- Yeah.
Just, hand me out. I'm dispersing.
Given up.
Which one was the revision there? Are these the right
I
ones
know
or
them
not?
on Thursday.
I don't know, but I don't think they were uploaded yet.
Can I have one more, please, if you have
Oh, yeah, of course. Right.
Because we had stamp on it.
I have one.
You don't have the 2.8 ones?
Can we cut this back, because
I
there's
don't
like
have
no
them.
water there, and you
Upload
go
it.
out, and, is the same depth for what length of time?
Right, here on the soundings it's at 1.2. We tried to locate it in the place that was deepest. It's 60
Yeah.
feet from mean high water. But you want it cut back?
Yeah, if you could.
Okay, what do you want it cut back to?
What do you think, Ed? Go back maybe to like 0.6.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Points.
That gives you over the line into the water.
Okay, and 0.6 you want the end of you want the drop platform
Yes.
to end
Yeah.
at 4? Okay.
Yeah, because there's no need to be way at that far because nothing changes.
Okay.
If you don't mind. But be happy for the environment.
Okay.
Yeah, and that would give you access to the pond.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, hang on a second. Okay. And that's what the handrails are gonna look like?
Yes, it'll be 5/4 inch by 6 inch top rail with a 5/4 inch by 4 inch side rail, and then a vinyl clad stainless steel wire in between. And that'll be a leaf mulch path down to.
Do they really need the handrails there?
I think it was for
Well, you're-
safety, so
You're
that it's
almost,
not.
you're 4 foot plus up, it looks like,
Right.
right?
It's
Yeah.
high.
Yeah, you're high, so if somebody falls off that.
Yeah, I guess you should leave them.
Yeah.
It's a pretty high door.
Right.
You just
Right,
don't, you just
we
don't
have
wanna
it.
have all these spindles, so it looks
Yeah.
like you're kinda minimalist there.
Yeah.
They did,
Yeah.
did a good job on
Yeah.
it. Let Jim know that.
She's the boss.
Hold it up.
This is like criticizing too much.
Is there language about treated material?
I have it on the description of work. It's not on the plans, indicating that it'll be light penetrating and constructed with non-treated wood, but I can have that
Or like
added to the
flow-through.
plan.
Open decking.
You know, it should be flow through.
Flow through, or
It is
through
open-
flow?
It's fiberglass open grading decking on the 4th page. It's all described there.
Yeah,
Where's
right,
the,
yeah.
where's the
On the
cover
website.
sheet indicates all this?
No, it
Yeah.
has to be put
No.
on the cover sheet.
It is on the cover sheet, but I have to revise it to
amend
take off the kayak rack and then language about shortening the dock.
Like, yeah,
So,
also on your plans. So
Right.
we need everything to match.
Okay.
right, and then obviously the final approved plan's gotta be the stamp plan.
Yes.
So James,
So we'll hold that, waiting, something.
hold it pending you getting all this stuff.
All information.
Okay, and then I'll come back for a work session, or?
You might not have to.
I mean, if you comply with that, I mean, you're
Yeah.
always welcome to come to the
Come
work
back.
session.
If you comply
Thank
with
you.
that.
It's gotta come back to work.
It's gotta
Yeah.
come, it's a matter of whether she's
Okay.
gotta come.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I
Has
mean?
to come
You could,
back.
if you're the
Okay.
boss, you could delegate. That would be the thing to do.
He
You
doesn't
might
really
be
wanna come.
celebrating Valentine's Day though.
I know, that's what I was thinking. Okay, I will make those
Alright.
changes and resubmit them.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You need this, you need this.
I will give this back. Thank you.
Thanks, thank you.
Sorry,
Thank you,
Jess.
guys.
Thanks. Thanks, Sabrina.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jim.
We have an application for Doreen Farrell, 6 Cedar Drive, Hampton Bays.
Thank you.
Is the applicant here?
Did we hear from?
James, did we hear?
You wanna hold this? You don't have the applicant?
No, I want to hold this because we originally did a review over this and it has issues with the, the setbacks on the extended property lines, and we shortened the dock to 55 feet by 4 feet. And subsequently, there was a ramp and a float that was added on without a permit, which,
Just the one that the neighbors were complaining
no, there's no, it's in Carmen Point Cove, but if they're not here,
So
then
just hold it.
I'm going to hold it, yes.
Hold it.
Yes.
Move on to your next,
Yep.
next.
The next one is 50 Little Neck Road LLC, 50 Little Neck Road, Shinnecock Hills. This is with Jim Walker and Inner Science. Again?
about. See, you came up with that divorce.
Ship without a captain. This is Henry Hildreth. And for what it's worth, we have finished with the Army Corps Department Estate, and we've made progress here. And we have shown on the current plans exactly what's required at the Army Corps and the DEC. It is the last time I was here, we were going to show a drop platform at 100 feet. So that's where we are. I've done what Ed and I discussed at that particular time, and this project's ready for you guys to approve.
Give the overhead shot.
Property owner's gonna complain if you make him go get an engineer drawings, because he's been in this process for a long time, but.
Well, there's no water there, and we're trying to accommodate a dock that has been there without a permit for many years.
The original dock was permitted. I got it.
With a float?
No. Oh, the floats are illegal as could be.
Yeah, so this would, but this would, you
Sorry, Ian,
require,
I'm honest to a fault.
well, you,
Well, it is what it is.
you're gonna acquire, 2 feet of water, which would float a small Boston whaler, and it would be appropriate in the area, so, yeah.
I think it's an improvement over people having illegal floats. We've tried to work with the property owner to give them something that they would agree to, install and abide by the permits.
But you're not gonna put a condition that it can only have Boston whaler, right?
No, but I'm just telling you what,
That's funny.
And is there a channel along part of there, or is it down further?
no, there's no
This-
channel offshore here. It's all
Pretty hard bottom.
pretty flat bottom there. It's in Fort Pond. This is what it looks like right now.
Yeah, those floating docks are totally out of spec.
Yeah.
It's too many of them.
Well, there's 3 of them there now. Well, they've multiplied.
Having 3 floats on a bay bottom is a bad idea. What we're trying to do is give the property owner something that he can live with and enjoy without having illegal improvements.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's the best way to approach most of these projects.
Yeah. And this winter, that whole entire structure was completely dry there, so with the winter tide, so it would be something that we would approve. And in the summer season, he could use a boat and access the pond and,
We would be compliant there.
Yeah, correct.
So the only question is his statement about the stamp plans.
it's a moisture project.
You
Yes.
can kick that around yourself, Scott.
Yes, so all we would need is stamp plans for this.
That's
Thanks,
good
Jim.
enough.
And you can tell him
I got
it
you.
should get approved.
We'll be back to you as soon as we can.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks,
Thank
Jim.
you, Jim.
Thanks.
Next application is Old Harbor Colony Property Owners Association, 8 Canal Way, Hampton Bays, Cole Environmental. Good morning. I believe this will be there have been at least 2 other projects that have been done with other consultants here to protect the association property, which is between 2 bulkheaded
Yes.
properties. And there's been quite a lot of erosion here, and they're trying to save the property for the association, because many people in the association do use the property during the summer season.
Yes,
I grew up there.
oh, really?
Yes, he did. Right
And-
down the road.
Just down the road.
Yep.
Spent a lot of time there. Okay. Good stuff.
They have tried core logs in the past, and they haven't been successful.
Core logs, they've tried rocks of certain sizes and
Part
certain,
part of the way
it. And,
across.
yeah. Unfortunately, on a southwesterly wind, the waves literally ricochet off of both of the bulkheads there.
Yeah.
We'll look at it. And they're trying to stabilize it and at the same time maintain a beach for the community.
Yes.
It's basically the existing rocks to be relocated 2 feet landward of the average mean high water. New 500 to 700 pound rocks be installed at least 2 feet landward of the average mean high water. To continue a line east and west, rocks will be dug in 2 feet landward of the average high water, with the second line of rocks 500 to 700 pounds to be installed directly landward. All rocks will be installed with a 4 4-inch by 6-inch crushed stone, and backfill with clean sand, Spartina paintings, and Amelia for a better or
Beach grass.
Beach grass, yeah.
your beach grass to be planted, supplement of the rocks to be installed on crushed stone and filter fabric at corners of the bulkhead, elevation not to exceed mean high water. Most seaward existing rocks to be removed, remaining existing rocks seaward of the average mean high water to be removed. Remain in place and existing intertidal marsh to remain undisturbed. Basically, they're just looking to put these rocks to break up the wave energy and to revegetate the whole entire
Yes, and
beach.
there was a discrepancy with the mean high water mark, so the DEC asked that we just revise the plans to bring everything 2 feet landward, which is why we're moving the most seaward rock.
Yeah.
So it's a little confusing, but instead of,
Considerable amount of erosion this winter down there, so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And just repeat to me what was tried previously, core logs.
Yeah, the core logs, and there was, they did put some rocks in, but not the full way
They
across the
did this,
beach.
they
So
did the
have
rocks
them on
here
both
and they did
sides
the
with
rocks over
plantings.
here, leaving this open for core logs, and basically with the wave, it doesn't have a lot of wave edge, but has a lot of wave energy, and the core logs literally got washed out.
Yeah.
No wake zone,
We're gonna use
there's
native
no
rock
wake zone
ground
now
rock.
further south.
Okay,
Gonna use native rock.
It should
ground,
be,
no shot bed.
because
okay.
it's within 500
Is that
feet.
See, when I was a kid, the no
native
wake zone
round,
was
no
further
sharp
north.
edges?
Yeah, no shot bed.
Yeah, it's way north.
Way north.
Yeah, that's, I'm gonna.
But I think they moved it further, I think they moved the no wake zone further south.
Yeah.
As
A lot
time
of
went
people.
on.
Yes, I think
It's the erosion.
subsequently they'll apply for some sort of platform to go over or.
Yeah,
Over
that
the
was my
rocks.
next
Yeah.
question, because originally there was a pathway with sand and it
Yeah.
allowed the public to access it. If you're gonna put rocks along the whole entire stretch, you're gonna need a walkway,
Yeah,
which should, I would say should be part and parcel of the whole project.
yeah, it's not a priority currently. This is more
Yeah,
the
they wanted to
priority, and then
stabilize.
I think they'll figure out exactly what they
Okay.
want
That was a
to-
great place for families to go and enjoy, have picnics on the weekends. And
Yeah, this is the original
It's a nice
project here.
property.
It is.
You can see the,
whatnot.
Yeah.
the
And we're
memorial
trying to
logs.
maintain some of the sandy area behind the rocks, so they can still have a, have a
Kids
beach
there.
area.
Yeah.
That was a cool place to go.
Yeah, I've been down there quite a few times.
Yeah, and the no wake zone was further to the north, so.
Yes.
But I think they've changed that. I think they moved that further south to eliminate.
Well, there's 500 feet is
Yep.
right in.
Back in the day, it was,
Yeah.
it was all the way, the no wake zone started all the way up in here.
Okay.
And that was back when, before Spellman's was there older big wooden boats
Yep.
backed in the other side, and you had Hampton Boat Works on the
Yep.
east side.
Yep.
A lot of large vessels going in and out of there.
Yeah, I think this is a continuation of a project, because it's, like, when we originally met down there, the beach was barely eroded, and we tried the coir logs, and unfortunately, they worked only temporarily, and, being that the storm elevations have been such that they just wash out, because they actually,
Yeah.
without them being immersed in water regularly, they become buoyant and float. And they
Stakes
also,
remain.
Yeah, the stakes are still there.
they decompose too.
Right.
Yeah.
You good?
Spots in between bulkheads are tricky.
And we've received verbal approval from the DEC. They're just writing up the conditions, so they've given us the verbal on the plan as is.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, stamp plans and, is there gonna be any adjustments to these plans from the DEC?
No.
I don't believe so.
These are the adjustments that already have been made,
Okay.
Yeah.
based on their comments.
Exactly.
So basically, these plans stamped, and then we'll put it on for the, general work session.
Sure.
I mean, the general meeting.
Well, it goes to the work session. The
Yeah,
next work
just to
session,
make
but
sure.
Only to inspect the plans.
Yes. There's gonna be one more work session.
Yeah.
To make sure the plans are stamped and we have everything in the packet.
Okay. So you need stamp plans for revetments
Like,
and anything,
For any structure that.
any structure.
Any
Okay.
permit that we're reviewing.
Gotcha.
landscape architect or
Or landscape architect,
something
yeah.
like that.
Okay.
It's the appropriate designated professional that would be overseeing that type of a plan.
Okay. Thank
Right?
you.
Am I
Thank
correct
you.
with that, Mark?
You are correct.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Get Strong Salt
Strong
Pond,
Sulphur
Marine.
Pond, 74 Little Neck Road, Shinnecock Hills, and Consultants.
Dave?
How are you?
Hello.
Hi, Ryan's wrong. Rob is not available today.
Okay, you want to present your plan?
It is pretty
Go over it,
straightforward.
Chris.
Yeah, I'm here to really answer any questions, clarifications, anything you need.
You want to give us a detailed play-by-play on this whole thing?
Sure. It's really replacement of docks that are existing there to the same size requirements, and also replacement of the bulkhead structure that is there as well.
I did meet Rob, so,
Can you go to the
Dad.
plans?
Yes.
a couple times, we're trying to, basically, it's the old Course Marina, Best Boat Works prior to that. Dock has been there for, I don't know, 70 years.
At least, yeah.
So we're just trying to clean it up, bring it up to our today's standards, put a buffer there.
Good, I'm glad there's gonna be a buffer.
Yes. Well,
Then keep the configuration of the docks
yes.
as is.
This is the character of the work. Remove and replace in place approximately 102 linear feet of existing timber bulkhead with vinyl bulkhead. Incidentally dredge 10 feet by 40-foot area seaward of the bulkheaded area to the maximum depth of 4 feet below mean low water, using approximately 15 cubic yards of sand spoil as backfill. Maintain a 10-foot wide gravel buffer landward of the replaced bulkhead. Remove and replace the existing 13-foot timber return and a 13-foot vinyl return along the property line. Remove and replace in place the existing 6x40, 5x51, and 5x34 sections of fixed pier dock, 2 3x12 ramps, and a 5x147, a 5x39, a 5x6, a 6x20, a 5x146, and a 5x54 floating docks. Remove and replace in place up to 54 feet of existing floating dock tie-off piles, basically as needed, as depicted on the project plans submitted by N Consultants December 16th, 2021. Most of the pilings that are in there now are creosote pilings. They actually, some of them came from the old Ponquod Bridge, so they were repurposed many years ago. So this whole project in general is going to be getting rid of, treated lumber, creosote, and, I think it's a really good project, giving us a buffer, filling in part of a man-made launch there, and so that you guys, instead of using a travel lift, you're gonna use a forklift, so.
Your plans to look at?
Yep.
That component is gonna be to follow. We're waiting on engineering,
Okay.
waiting on the engineering drawings.
Yes,
first,
because
but-
that part,
Do you have bigger,
The end of the floats out there are they inside the property line or outside?
That's a great question. They
We have.
they are what they've been for
Yeah.
70+ years.
Yeah,
This is
he
our
could have done it. he
second or
could've-
third year of ownership,
Yeah.
so
I know. You guys usually do a very good job.
thank you.
But it's hard for us to issue a permit if it's over the property line.
Understood.
the
No.
extended property line you're talking
Yeah.
about?
Yes.
You're saying the outmost floats.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because then it's you're in the other guy's view shed and also
Right. I know that's the way you're saying on the, I
The
believe,
north side
It's been there
and
for,
the
yeah,
south
the
side.
south, yeah. I know the north is within, maybe, well, the south, based on your drawing here, which looks like it's pretty current. Because I asked when we purchased it why the angles are so funny.
Is there a survey? Does it show?
There's definitely, we have
Does it
surveys, yeah.
show?
There's a survey, but it doesn't show the
doesn't
extended,
show
we didn't
the
do the extended property lines.
well,
I think we have to look at that because we help people like down Sag Harbor, Cove. You have to be fair to everyone.
Sure.
Because it's narrow there.
Yeah, understood.
And
Yeah, we take care of the gentleman to the south.
Yeah, I
Unless
think
you
at the
can
very,
Facility, so.
unless they get a permission or covenant from
Understand,
the
yeah.
neighbor,
Or some type of an affidavit,
Yeah.
that's I guess what you're saying, I guess they, you know.
Because they were pre-existing.
Well, yeah, it's been there for 70 years, to your point, it's like, you know.
But they might not have a permit, Joe, to get those on without permit.
Well, that has been the way it was when it was before Joey Core had it,
Yeah.
When Best said it?
when Best
Best
had
had
it. It hasn't changed since
Did they originally have permits?
the six, I never looked and see if the original permits were in the office
Yeah.
from the
We just have
fifties,
to be
sixties.
safe, you know, because we don't want to get ourselves and get him in trouble with the neighbors.
So if it's been that way for years and years, what's the right, Mark, what's the right, process for this if, we can get permission from the neighbors?
Well, it's a pre-existing commercial exposure, this is not like somebody putting a new dock and,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
we've got to site it and everything, it's been going on for 70 years.
But it's not consistent, so
Well,
looking
we just
at
have to
it.
get
It's like a pre-existing non-conforming
Yeah.
situation, and I
So
think
how
that,
do we address that?
well, as just as such, I would say, I mean, Mark's the attorney, but it is pre-existing non-conforming, it's a business that's been operating, and you purchased it that way, it's been there, I don't have people banging down our doors complaining about this.
Right.
You know, we are a maritime community.
But just so
Do
they're
need slips.
protected,
I-
and so
Yes.
they're
So if they ask for a
protected.
letter of permission, we may,
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah, that's what I noted down. yeah.
Mark, I don't know what your thoughts are on all this discussion, but.
Yeah, I mean,
Make sure we protect the.
You're definitely looking to vary from the Blue Book requirements. Letter of permission might help with regard to the current homeowner, if they stay the current homeowner. I'm not so sure how much that will help. I'd probably recommend following the Blue Book. I don't know what procedure you have for submittal of variances, but regardless, it still certainly looks like the north side is over the property line as you extend it out to the water. I don't know about the south side.
So, we would need,
I would hold it.
plan, on a survey, we would need,
First, I
the
would like to see,
consultant to do the extended property lines out, so see,
I would look to see if there's a original permit for that, for Best. Might be a permit back in the file from
yeah, we would have to do, some
1950 probably. Can you go back on the overhead shots? 20
GIS.
In aerials we can,
Yeah.
but in permits we have to look elsewhere.
Where do you wanna go? How would-
Yeah, so you
See
Go
if
back,
there's
ask
one
Rob
the
if he
same.
can do a title search back to the
Yeah.
fifties. That would be a good starting point. I know it's a lot of work, but, you know, in order for us to move
I know our
forward.
neighbors will give us a big kiss if we can replace the docks.
Yeah, it's been
They
pretty
just
bad
can't
down
stand
there.
looking at them, and neither can we, obviously, but.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
So in the same footprint though, is that what you're talking, is that what you're?
Exact replacement,
same
it's just.
footprint.
Right, so, but they're
Fresh.
still gonna be looking at docks, they're just tired of looking at
Oh, you see,
old docks, they wanna
see-
look at new
yeah.
docks, is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Old was 10 years
Yeah.
ago.
Well, you know what
I
I'm
do,
getting at, because,
absolutely, yeah.
because the trustees are, you know, they take
No.
into consideration, you know, as
Totally.
you've heard the word view
Yeah,
shed. So the bottom line is, you know,
That's 20 years ago?
Yeah, this is 2001.
yeah, so it has
So-
changed, yeah.
So go back 10 more years.
They've
That's
added.
2022.
Well, it looks like you pulled that one section in on the
Yeah,
north.
that couldn't be done in the winter time.
Yeah.
Or you had to fix a pole, he didn't walk too fast.
Oh, so it's,
When's that, James? That's back a ways.
That's 96, but you can't go off the tax map lines because it's
They're
not
inaccurate.
correct, but
Yeah.
Right. Just looking at that, the layout of the
Yeah,
docks.
layout.
yeah.
And sort of where it comes in, where it
well, that's
is with the property
definitely,
lines. Go back one more or two more.
94 is usually pretty bad, so
Yeah.
we'll go 84.
That's-
84 is
pixelation,
84.
it's a hammerhead shark. Or
Yeah,
84, it was just,
or hammerheads in the bay.
that's in the seventies,
that's
isn't it?
76, yeah.
76.
So it looks like between 84 and 94 was when they made the changes.
so
So there's permits for these?
You guys-
I don't know.
We need to know that.
I can look into it.
We need to know that.
who would have
Yeah, we
owned
can
it
look
at
into
that
it.
point? Would that still have been Best's? Or was that
Probably.
Joe? Or that was.
Oh, in the 80s, that would probably be Joe,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That was
think
Joe
so.
at that point in time, I think.
Or it was close.
Close.
Yeah.
Close.
Did you, when you bought, in purchasing, did you do any title search on the docks and everything and permits and stuff?
I know we usually do a very deep dive.
I'm sure.
That's why, man,
I think it'd be going back mentally this far. I can't speak to that, but
can you get?
yeah,
somebody-
definitely have it noted down, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if there's permits, there's no problem.
Yeah, we're just trying to.
You still want the, the affidavits from the neighbors to make.
I would wait until.
Yeah, let's see
Yeah, let's see what we got.
Let's see
If we-
what
if we
was
have permits,
permitted
then you don't need
originally,
them.
and then we'll work out from there.
Wasn't Joe on the Shinnecock Canal in the early
Mariners
eighties?
Cove?
Yeah, he was at
In the
Mariners.
70s.
But he was there probably through, because I remember when I was a constable.
In the 70s.
That was in the late seventies, heading into the early eighties. I
Yes.
think he was still there in the early eighties.
Yes,
Um,
and then Mariners Cove got sold.
right, and it was probably somewhere in the early eighties, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well,
did
they
he have
got-
them both, or did he just
No,
have
he had
one?
one.
So then it was probably best.
Yeah, it was best back then, yeah.
It was best.
So that's why I said, a title search with names, we could look up the
Yep.
permits, and then we can get a timeline of what has transpired here over the last few decades.
Okay.
Little ancient history.
Yes.
He might be, check with him, because he might be able to.
Based on my own age, I don't know if I'm gonna call it ancient history.
If he has, then he's got a foil.
Yep, okay, great. Appreciate
All right.
it
All right, thank you, Ryan, thank you for coming
Thanks for
down.
coming.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you
Representative
very much,
John.
nice to see you. All right, we have an exec at 11, so,
Okay, we're.
trustee Welker.
Yep, 361 Dune Road LLC, Peconic Environmental, let me just double check this, but they sent an email the other day requesting that this be held. James, was there any follow-up to that you saw?
I didn't see
I
any.
have no problem holding it
Yeah.
since we can't discuss it.
So, this is snow fencing, so it's snow fencing installation, so we'll hold that. Project 287 LLC, modification at 4585 Noyak Road. Mr. Halsted Wells, if you'd like to come forward, that'd be great.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? Do you wanna do
Sign in.
Sign in. I was
State your
wondering
name for
why
the
I
record.
was still
Yeah.
staying here.
Yes, and then maybe you could give just a brief description of what you've
Okay.
encountered here, time-wise and
Address.
permit-wise. So
45.
this is a project that was previously permitted by the trustees, but then Mr. Halsted went through, go ahead, you can carry on if you'd
Well,
like.
I've finally got everything together, but it, meaning the approvals of what was the delay was the Army Corps of Engineers and the Department of State, which the Army Corps of Engineers needed in order to do their. So I'm basically, I've run through my 4 permits and the expiration, and I'm asking for, on this same plan, just 1 more year here to get the thing. Now that I have everything together, everything together, I guess, would mean the modification to the original thing that was required by the Army Corps of Engineers and the Department of State.
Okay.
So I'm fine with this. It's been a modification that's been requested. The DEC had a couple changes, but nothing significant. They've all been made. Proposed fixed stock is minimum 4 feet above wetlands. Access ramp is replaced with tiered landings and steps, and seasonal aluminum ramp is replaced by one with a wood frame and open fiberglass mesh.
So they don't want an aluminum ramp. They want,
Actually, they didn't object to that. It was one of the objections that one of the neighbors made. And the Army Corps said, what are you gonna say about this objection we got? And I said, actually, I agree. I'd be happy to put in something other than, and I learned that there was other ramps. You weren't stuck with an aluminum ramp.
Yeah.
So it was in response to.
right, so you just Yeah, no, I understand. I just was wondering if what their rationale was,
Yeah.
because,
Yeah, no, it wasn't, that wasn't there. I was just meeting some neighbor objection.
So this
Fair enough.
is, time is of the essence, basically, because,
Is it a
Due
renewal
to-
or a modification?
it's a modification.
Yeah, so he did 4 renewals already,
Okay.
so he's up on his renewals. After we talked, he said that if he gets his modification, he's gonna try to get the work done before the permit expires. Is that correct?
Yes. Right, Mr. Holsted, you're gonna get the work done as soon as possible now that you've been,
Yeah,
Everything
I'll
else
move
is in
forward.
line.
I mean, besides that, the damn cost has doubled since what it was when I started this process. So I need a little bit of put together, but yes, as soon as possible.
So, yeah.
Good.
yes, okay, so if
Okay.
we could please,
Thank you.
So we need stamp plans?
Thank you.
we have stamp.
okay,
Okay, for the modification.
Yep,
thank you.
yep, thank you, Mr. Wells.
Thank you.
Trustee Parish.
Yes, we have Christopher Walters, 21 Baycrest Avenue, West Hampton, Land Use Ecological Services.
How you doing, guys? Good, good. I think it's a pretty simple application. It seems to meet the Blue Book standards. The total length of the dock structure from high water is 100 feet. You can see from the depths, we do have it chocked. It gets to 2 feet of water, but just barely, 1.8, 2.1,
Yeah, chalk
1524.
across.
Right.
Being going across the whole,
Pardon me?
chalk going across.
Yes, I mean, I'll make sure that we do.
Yeah,
if that's
all
what
the
you want.
whole. Thank you.
Yeah, but other than that, I think it meets all your standards.
Well, James, what were the two issues you said?
So in the past, you guys haven't really gone under 2 feet with chocks, that I'm aware of. So the inside of this float is 1.4, which would be, you know, pretty low for chocks, but in the past. I think that potentially if you make it a T or an L,
Yeah, that's what I was
that'll get
gonna
you out a little further and keep that within 100 feet, and you'll be up more towards like
No.
1.9.
I have no problem.
So at least with chocks, then you're at 1.9, closer to 2 feet,
Yeah.
rather than 1.4, because then you're gonna have the float sitting up high with the low water underneath.
Yeah.
I don't know how safe.
So
that
we'll
is.
just extend the fixed dock out and then put a T.
That would probably
If
work.
that's, you know, I don't know that you guys.
With no float.
Right.
And
With no float or with a
No,
float?
no.
Oh, no, with
With-
a float. With the float.
With
at
the float.
He wants to have the float in a T
Oh,
configuration.
T.
T.
With the chocks underneath the bill.
Right. But that'll get to 2 feet at
Okay.
the,
Or closer to, you know, not quite.
see, I think they go, and actually the boat would be even deeper than that.
And is there a pier line here?
It's 100 feet.
Okay,
So you
But
just
then-
make,
Would be
and
at
this
the-
still works with the third,
Yeah, it's
yes.
pretty wide.
And it looks
canal.
consistent with,
others in the canal? I mean,
according
in the
to the
creek.
survey here.
What creek is this?
What's
It's
that?
in Baycrest,
Beaver
Okay.
Dam?
Beaver Dam.
Beaver Dam.
Beaver Dam. Beaver Dam.
And there's no submerged aquatic, like eelgrass vegetation on the
Yeah.
bottom of there, so,
There's pretty healthy natural shoreline.
yes.
Yeah, no, we're not proposing anything along the
No, no.
shoreline.
I
If it meets Blue Book at that stage, you're just gonna have to revise your plans. Yeah, no, we'll do that. We'll revise the plans, so if, based upon that, I don't know, I guess you're gonna, well, you'll have to come, we'll have to come
Yeah.
back here anyway.
Yep.
so. Okay,
Great.
no problem.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
And you,
We need stamp plans too. Well, once we look at this again, and then we're gonna ask for stamp plans to the final.
Well, they stamped.
Always need stamp plans to
We
find.
have stamped, these originals that they sent us were stamped, so they can stamp the new ones too.
Right,
Okay.
revision.
We'll hold pending the new plans and cover sheet.
Yes.
And you got another First Coastal here, another couple of First Coastals.
Two First Coastals that
We saved your seat for you.
Thank you, kept it warm, thank you. Alrighty.
start with the 9 Apicock Point Lane,
Mhm.
which was a modification renewal.
Right. That's when we separated the two projects, the bulkhead project to the dredging.
Yeah.
And we're just looking to finalize this bulkhead project, which has already been inspected, and close it out.
The
So the-
modification was just to add the language about the buffer.
That's right.
500 square feet of
The Spartina, yeah, we
So
took
when they
it,
submitted the application, it left off that section of it, and we just had them add it
Okay.
when we discussed it last, so. they
That's,
added
that's,
it.
right, so that's all this is about, it's modification.
Yep,
all right, thank you.
it'll be fairly simple. And the next one is 7 Tanner's Neck Lane in West Hampton. This was before the trustees on October 12th. And they've made some revisions. You wanna tell us about that, Bill?
Yeah, so we relocated the dock to the east side of the property and connected it with the existing deck. Removed the proposed ramp and float, and instead just proposing a straight catwalk with an L shape. And then we reduced the length to extend only 100 feet out from mean high water.
Can you zoom in on that a little bit, please?
Yep.
So here's a updated plan. I only have one, unfortunately.
So this is a long catwalk over the marsh?
Yes.
Okay.
Got a ladder on there?
I usually put ladders in. I'm not sure if it's shown on the detail.
And did we do an advisory letter on this?
detail.
We could certainly add that.
No, we didn't do an advisory letter.
How long-
This-
How long is that catwalk above, how high is that catwalk above mean high water?
Quite long.
Yeah.
Is this the village of West Hampton, or no?
This is Tanner's Neck, I believe, is not in the village.
Alright.
No, it's not.
Well, the whole structure is 309 feet, so it's 209 feet.
Uh-huh.
It's 209 feet above.
Yeah, there's other catwalks like that, 'cause I remember. I did
Yeah, there's a
one.
bunch.
We did one and we did one up there in the drainage, that-
Yeah, that was at Baycrest.
Yeah. I mean,
that
there's
was a big thing.
pretty limited access, and this kind of requires us to be right in there. Yeah, right in that corner. So it's just north of that. The property that sticks out with the bulkhead. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's I'm looking at this one here. So it is a lot of marsh that has to go over that. So.
Yeah. There's no other way to access it because it's all marsh there.
I walked the property, it's marsh.
Yeah.
Squishy.
With the waiters?
Unfortunately, no. I wore boots.
You need to get waders.
There's a mosquito ditch that goes way upland there too.
Yeah, weaves all the way up. It's consistent with the docks over marsh. So,
Well, the other properties are improved right up to the
right up to the
bay
exactly.
there. So
Yeah,
this is,
this is the one of the few that has the buffer of the natural marsh area. So.
it's right next to the old Bay Club.
What do you think, Trustee
Exactly.
Crash?
I'm surprised you remember that.
Well, I was up there on Friday. going around
Aaron
in the
staked it
boat,
out
so I
and,
looked at all of these areas.
Like
Yeah, that's
didn't
too
work.
funny.
James?
People forget about that place,
You wanna request
as they should, maybe.
an advisory letter or no?
There's a fair amount of, I'm sorry,
No, no, forgive me, I interrupted you.
there's a fair amount of, I mean, if we're looking for a couple things, the least amount of disturbance of vegetation in order to get to the highest, the deepest water. We've done that here, cause this is the deepest water. in order to get out to it, but I think it's still a good idea to get the advisory letter.
I think
given
out of
that
respect,
it's
we should ask.
extensive.
Yeah, let's just
And
do
it's-
that.
And it's all light
That
penetrating
way we'll-
decking that you're putting there, so that
Non-treated
whatever's
material,
there is,
yeah.
it's gonna flourish.
Okay, so that's,
So I'll hold it for the advisory letter.
Okay, other than that, you're good with everything?
yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's just,
Understood?
just the consideration of the substantial
Yes,
And stamp
upland,
plans.
to make sure we're meeting everybody's concerns and,
Last one, quick.
yes, okay.
Yep, this last one is, thank you, Billy.
You're welcome, of
Um,
course.
Barlavento LLC, 23 Wheaton Way. This was just, we didn't have stamp plans last time,
Right.
and you got the plans in, so we can move this ahead. This
Fantastic.
we discussed last time, it's
Yes.
Ducks Bay.
yep,
Yes,
across
So-
that little pond.
so we advanced that,
Exactly. Yep.
and then we are scheduled for executive session, like momentarily,
Right
so
on time.
I think the smart thing to do is to adjourn the work session and go into the executive session for the discussion of,
Okay,
sorry?
I will just say, Meat Cox Bay is being opened today,
What time they gonna open that,
just after high tide at noonish.
Okay.
So, and SAG closed itself naturally in the past few days, so just a
Okay.
little update there.
Thank you guys very much.
Thanks,
Bill.
Billy.
Thank you.
So again, I'll make a
Take care.
motion to adjourn our work session here
Second.
and go into executive session for the purposes of discussing personnel, and potential litigation issues.
Yes.
So seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, meeting closed. Let's go to executive.